successfully erased.
So, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. The date today is the 8th of May, 2009. The time here is actually 7:30, which is 30 minutes earlier than usual. That means it's 30 minutes earlier than usual wherever you are. Oh, a strange time phenomenon. Yeah, sorry, I've been watching too much of the Star Trek movie. I've kind of got time travel on the brain. The fact of the matter is, this is WCURadio.com. I am TotalBiscuit, and this is Blue Plz, and that, quite frankly, should be all you need to know for the time being. What have we got coming up for you in the show today? Oh yes, many things. I'll be asking you a question, and indeed a question that I would imagine a lot of you within reasonable raiding guilds have been asking yourselves and your fellow raiders lately. Hard modes or progress? Decision facing every decent raiding guild. We'll be talking about that a bit later on in the show. Also, XT002 is now a joke, and we'll be analysing the difference between a face roll and a challenge. And also I'll be telling you a little bit of a story about how we failed horribly on Razor Scale and yet still beat it, and why that annoyed us more than made us celebrate. Also Blizzcon speculation, as you might expect. Blizzcon tickets have been announced, at least when they're going to be released and all that kind of stuff. They've also announced they're going to have the entire convention center, and they'll be rolling the WWI into BlizzCon, which of course is a bad thing for me because I'm still on like the no-fly list for the US. Oh yes, terrorism, absolutely. Everyone knows TotalBiscuit is out to blow people up. It's horrendous. You can't imagine. They're doing a great job of keeping me out of the country. But yeah, won't be going sadly, but I will be talking about it a little bit later on the show, speculating as to what we might find. Also, of course, your chance to contribute to the show, your chance to steer the outcome. Yes, indeed, it's the illusion of choice! Email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com if you wish to contribute or direct the show. You can choose a topic, and that topic may become the last 50 minutes. Yes, I actually have this bell here. I don't... Why is this even here? I mean, this is like a cat bell, but I know for a fact that none of our cats actually wear them. That's weird. It's kind of like the last thing I expect to find on my desk. Oh, well, never mind. Now, before mailbag, tons of cool stuff to tell you about. Oh, yeah. Cool stuff indeed. Now, first thing to tell you about, we've got a little bit of an update on what some of the BlizzCon prizes are going to be. Not the BlizzCon prizes, what am I talking about? The WoW Idol prizes! I'm sorry, WoW Idol's going to be way more exciting than BlizzCon, that's just the way of it. We're adding more to the prize packages as we go along, but I'm ready to tell you a little bit about what's going to be happening with that. We've got 3 Point Entertainment, the guys who make those, like, $100 steins. Yeah, we've got 3 of those to give away. That's like $300 worth of prizes right there. And Razer are going to be giving us some premium keyboards and mice. It's going to be win. We've got a few more prizes coming up as well, and also we're going to be financing some prizes out of our ad revenue. Because you know what? We feel that it is good to give back to you guys. Because you're the guys who keep us running, and I think it's important to give you the opportunity to win some cool stuff. And there'll be plenty more coming up, yes indeed. WoW Idol's going to be running for quite some time, so there's going to be a lot of chance to get some goodies. Oh, yes indeed. Now, a couple of things about interviews. I've got 2 very exciting interviews coming up very soon. The first one is definitely going to be next Friday. Yeah, that I can confirm. And it's with the lead producer of PopCap Games. Yes, indeed. He's going to come onto the show, and he's going to talk about his brand new game, Plants vs. Zombies. And he's also going to be talking about the Peggle mod. Yes, indeed. You may have noticed the Peggle mod. I certainly hope so. He's going to be talking about how that was developed. He's also going to be answering some questions on the add-on policy and a few other really cool stuff. So yeah, again, a bit of grilling in there, but I'm thrilled to have him on. That's going to be fantastic fun. Absolutely loving Plants vs. Zombies at the moment. So maybe we might see a Plants vs. Scourge mod. That would be pretty nifty. So yeah, he's going to be on next week, and that will be great. Also, Inner Sanctum going to be coming on very soon, probably in the next 2 weeks, to talk about their experiences with Ulduar and the continuing battle to kill Algernon World First. That'll be interesting. And of course we'll be grabbing one more guild to finish off our sort of series of 4 evenings with Uber guilds, which people seem to be really enjoying, and I'm glad that they're getting something out of that. Yes, oddly enough, these guys are actually quite interesting. They're not the antisocial nerds you thought they were. Shocking, I know. So yeah, we'll be having them. Also, yeah, I've got tons of cool announcements. I'm going to be on another podcast, which is like a first, yeah? You got to bear in mind, I don't go on other people's podcasts. That's just not my thing. Right? I've had offers, but I've turned them down. Because, well, to be honest, I've got everything I need right here. And I've got a great setup. I've got 11 years of experience. I've got a ton of great staff and resources behind me. You know, the station's doing really, really well. And why would I go on other people's shows? Well, I want to make an exception for this once, because we got together, myself and Stompolina of Rawcast, to help promote a charity auction. And we made this kind of prize, which allowed people to bid for a spot on the Rawcast show with myself, Stompolina, and Halfraw. Now, we got like $200 raised for Child's Play that way, so that was great. That was part of a charity auction with various other podcasts and stuff like that. And they raised almost like $2,000 total, so that's great. We'll be helping the kids out with that, and I'll be turning up for the last week of May, I believe, if I remember correctly. See, I can't even remember which show I'm on. This is terrible. I've never ever done this before, so it's pretty rare. It is pretty rare for that to happen. Now, I'll be on, as I recall, let's see, when is it going to be? No, it's not going to be then. Damn it! Stompolina, your website is terrible. I can't even find when I'm going to be on my own show. Oh, Lord. Anyway, it's going to be towards the end of May. I believe there's an announcement on the front page of WCUED.com. And what we want to do is we want to get as many people in the live chat room as possible because, well, you know, there's all of these new shows that are doing live stuff now, and that's great because I think live radio and live podcasting is the best way to do things. You really get yourself psyched up and connect with the audience in a way that you can't do when you pre-record. Indeed, I'm just terrible with pre-recorded shows. I have no enthusiasm on them at all. I don't get adrenaline pumping. I don't get excited and thrilled. It's like, oh, there's a safety net. That's so boring, you know? But they're doing it live, and I don't think what some of these new live shows realise is just how many people we can get into a live show. As I recall, we were doing one of the BlizzCon shows, and we had like 8,000 listeners in one show. Yeah? Live. That's live. I mean, bear in mind that we get, what was it, 750,000 downloads a month at the moment? So that's a lot of podcast listeners, but live we can get loads. So we want to all go in there and basically scare the living hell out of Stompolina and her IRC rep, and Halfrod, of course, who is kind of like a token addition to the show, as I've found out. He says about 5 things and generally gets in the way. It's funny, I know a few people like that, and it seems to work pretty well. But yeah, I'll be on that show, and it'll be awesome. So we'll need everyone to show up for that. If you want to check out details, it's WCRadio.com, and I'll be reminding you closer to the time as to the date, time, and place for that particular show. Now, do I have anything else? Probably not. I probably do, but I'll remember it later. Anyway, quite enough of that. It's time for this.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Mail time! Yes, mail time. This is the time where we read the mail. There was actually one other thing, and I'll count this as a mail, just because then it'll fit in. ESL, Electronic Sports League, massive great site. They do a really professional video cast on Wednesdays called WoW Wednesdays, and you may recognise, I believe, some of the casters from that were also involved, I believe, in the finals of the Blizzcon Arena Tournament. They were commentating on that, so you may recognise their faces and voices. And they talked about us, and they gave us a big plug, which was pretty awesome, I might say. And they made the total cupcake joke. Right, guys, seriously, pro tip, been this for like 12 years. How many times do you think I've heard that? Seriously. It's a new and original. Total plus food products equals funny. Not quite. But anyway, they do a great show, and you should check them out on esl.eu. That is esl.eu on Wednesdays. There's a link to the video cast right there under their new vodcasts, whatever the hell that means. And also, stop stalking my wife, you weirdos. Freaks like, I want pics. Dear Lord, I thought that was only the Americans that did crazy, creepy things like that. Evidently not. They're just as hard up in the UK, folks. Now, time to get on with these emails. Now, I've got one here. Now, I think this is probably the first time that I've caused someone physical bodily harm over the internet. And to be honest, that is a big achievement for me. You know, that is something I'm proud. It's emotional. You know, it's really emotional for me. So yeah, he says this. He says, it's from Dredden, also known as Seferic, and he says this. Hey, remember Jaffa-mageddon? How could I forget? Jaffa-mageddon's a drink you invented sometime. Thank you for letting me know. It's like, remember the thing that happened a couple of months ago? Yes, actually. Good Lord. Anyway, I decided to promote during one of your shows. Yeah, Season 3, Episode 13. Needless to say, I was stupid enough to actually try it. So here's the story. I was listening to your archives and catching up on stuff I had missed, and when I heard you talk about Jaffa-mageddon, it's like, hey, I should try that. And a reminder to those, Jaffa-mageddon consists of 2 packets of, like, strong mocha, yeah? Ice, some milk, and 6 Jaffa cakes in a blender. And then you neck it, and you make it in pints. And this is a really strong, but also very sweet coffee. So it's like loads of sugar, loads of caffeine. Anyway. And it's like, hey, I should try that. So I had a raid that evening, and I usually raid at this e-cafe, where some of my friends raid as well. That's pretty cool, actually. I wish we had one of those. It would be pretty nice to kind of raid in the same room as raiders. I've kind of got a LAN party feel. Anyway, I digress. And it says, where some of my friends raid as well, and that day was no exception. So I chugged down your drink and headed over to the cafe. You were quite right about falling on your ass after a few hours, especially if you mix it with whiskey. Right? Look, these are like the guys who drink vodka and Red Bull. Depressant, antidepressant. No, also known as depressant stimulant. You combine the two, it doesn't work so well. Anyway, so half an hour into the raid, I kind of collapse, and collapsing isn't very smart when you're sitting on a stone floor. I managed to knock myself out, enough for my friends to decide that I needed to go to hospital. The people at my hospital thought I was on drugs, and I had to sit and explain to the doctor and my parents that I wasn't on drugs, which didn't go so well. So I had to take all these odd tests, and yeah, all I can say is, best evening ever. Can I have an epic? I suppose, yes? Epic! Why would you do such a thing? Seriously. Having said that, if you drink a lot of coffee and whiskey and then collapse on a stone floor and hurt yourself and get taken to hospital, that's generally not the best evening ever. I can think of several evenings that could potentially be better than that, which are well within reach. Seriously. But yes, congratulations for causing yourself physical bodily harm over a drink. That's amusing, to say the least. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, I've got one more email before I go to the first music break, and it goes along the line of this. It's from The Dark Cat. Ooh! That, he didn't actually write that, it's just The Dark Cat. AG Death Knight, Unholy DPS, Blood Tank. From Turion, and he says this. Hey TB, I got to 80 about a week ago, and I'm still trying to clear it. Try again. And I'm trying to gear up doing heroics. Sorry, this has spelling errors. But now that everyone is so pimped out by doing easy raids, I can't find anyone for heroic, and my server is medium/high pop. I went into Naxxramas with my friend Vesp, shout out to him, and did the first boss in the spider bit, when on to that Grandmaster woman and wiped, came back Warlock... What is this? This doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I think the idea is he went in there and wiped. And went to VRA, face-rolled the loot pinata, got the other boss to half HP before wipe, and then did OS 10, did Sarth, with 0 traits because I'm that good and got no loot. I was near the bottom of the DPS meter. My point is everyone needs me to be geared, but I can't because no one's doing the content. Currently build up a tank spec and doing Argent Tournament daily. Man, they are made a fail. But yay, for me, I has Children's Week title. Right. Just a pro tip for those who are actually emailing in. Don't do one of those crazy stream of consciousness emails where it's like you type the first thing that comes into your head. Don't do that. Actually, write something that makes sense. I think I get his point, but maybe not. Anyway. Look. Yeah, okay, fine. You had bad luck with loot. That happens. That really happens. You have any idea how many times I've lost out on loot rolls? I roll like... I'm terrible. You know, I want to institute Peggle loot in half of my pugs, just because I know for a fact I'll do better at that than I would in a roll. Now, you know, I'm in a proper guild where we do DKP, which is quite nice. But even then, I have bad luck. Because yesterday, or was it the day before that, whichever, we killed Razor Scale, and we'll talk about that a bit later on, and we had the Living Flame, yeah, the Living Flame I think it is, drop, which is a badass trinket. It's got over 4% hit on it, and an activatable of almost 600 spell damage. It's evil. I mean, that thing is a wrecking machine. Yeah? And I won it on DKP. And I couldn't get it. Because I DC'd in the middle of the fight due to internet connection issues and I didn't appear on the master loot list. So, don't talk to me about bad luck. Just try and try again. There's plenty of loot in Nax. You need to go find yourself a pug and get on with it. If you're doing low DPS... half of it's your gear and half of it's your rotation. Go on Elitist Jerks, read about the best rotations, read about the theory craft behind playing your class, and get as much crafted stuff as you can. Okay? And you'll be fine, seriously. Being a good player will outclass having loads of gear. Trust me, there are really bad players in WoW. It's not difficult to excel. In the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Which is sadly a mantra I've had to live by in this particular game, and it's a little bit depressing, but there you go. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I will be right back after this. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. Oh yes, the sounds of Master Plan enlighten me, and the sounds of TotalBiscuit here on Blue Plz on WoW Radio. Oh yeah. Right, I have an interesting topic to cover. So I shall tell you a story, as is usually the best way to introduce such concepts. So here we go. We were in Ulduar, as you might expect, on Wednesday for the reset clear, and our usual raid leader wasn't around. Now, our usual raid leader... he's a great guy. He goes by the name of Mikey. He's been with this guild for a very, very, very long time. He's the guild master. Now, the guild that I'm currently in, Lethe on Mazrigo, they shut down for most of TBC. I was in their guild during the Chthon and Nax era, and we were basically third on the server, and we were pretty good. Yep, we killed Chthon, we were progressing through Nax, when raid apathy hit, and the guild basically shut down, and never really fully recovered from that. Now, it had a big resurgence in Wrath, and I got back into it there. Unfortunately, a lot of the original members had either joined other guilds, or transferred, or just stopped playing the game entirely. There's a few originals, but not that many. Now, Mikey is of the opinion that we should always just basically ignore the hard modes entirely on 25, and just go straight through. But we had a different raid leader this week, and I was able to convince that raid leader that we should do Flame Leviathan with a couple of towers up, yeah? Because let's face it, it's not that hard. It's more challenging than usual, but it's not that hard. And there's extra loot and badges and stuff to be had. And it's a challenge, more so than usual, which is good. We'd already blitzed it on 10-man with our kind of elite group, which raids every now and again just for the sake of it. So we thought, hey, it'll be okay. Now, we've been having issues with the guild lately because we've got a lot more guilds, like pro guilds, better guilds indeed, on Mazrigo than we used to. And there's a lot more competition. Now, generally speaking, that's a good thing. Unfortunately, there's only a finite number of good players to go around. And it seems to me, and this is no offense to Lethe, but I think they know this is true, that a lot of our members just seem to not really be all there. Yeah? They're not with it. They're not always focused. They're not on the ball. They do some really stupid stuff. I mean, we had a guy, and I'm not going to name names because that would just be incredibly unfair, but this new hunter that we had, who claimed to know all the strategies for Flame Leviathan, because let's face it, it's not that hard. You know, it's like, we're asking, right, does anyone not know what they're doing? Because once we get started, we're just not going to stop. We're just going to go straight through. And it's like, no, it's fine. And we asked him specifically, do you know what you're doing? It's like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing in this vehicle, blah, blah, blah. Excellent. So, off we go. And, of course, he ends up not knowing what he's doing. And it's like, oh, for God's sake, really? We also had another issue with this guy, whereby we were discussing the DKP for the item that I was actually after. Now, our DKP system involves bidding in increments of 10, starting from 30. You can't bid anything else. Now, the guy who was competing with me went all in, but his all-in bid was only 5 higher than my last bid. Thereby, basically, the bid was invalid. Now, we're sitting around and we're basically saying, okay, right, so I get the loot, etc., etc. When this one guy types, this new guy in raid chat, it's like, alright, either you accept that bid or you pass, so get on with it. And I'm like, are you a bloody stupid or what? I mean, had you bothered to read all of the stuff about our DKP on the website, then we wouldn't have this problem. You'd know for a fact that this wasn't an issue. That, and if you were bloody listening on Vent, you wouldn't have this problem. I mean, what is it with you? And I basically told him to, go elsewhere. That would be the light way of putting it. I was like, seriously, listen. This is your problem. You do not listen. Now, what point does this have? Well, it's quite simple. We go onto Flame Leviathan with 2 towers up. Yeah, we pick the 2 easiest, which are Lightning and Fire. Yeah, we kill Freya's tower and we kill the other one, which I forget, Hodia's, yes, which is a rock-hard evil tower. We think, hey, this shouldn't be a problem. Now, we wipe the first couple of times, and it's for stupid reasons. It's like people driving straight into the fire and or lightning beams. It's like, these things are huge! They're, like, massive! How can you possibly miss them? Evidently, they can't miss them. Therein lies the problem. They drive straight into the damn things. It was horrendous. We had people that couldn't fire the cannons properly. And let me remind you that these are the guys who said, yeah, we knew what we were doing. We all know what we're doing. Oh, yeah, we absolutely know what we're doing. We've watched all the videos. We've read the strategies. We've done Flame Leviathan how many bloody times. We know what we're doing. And evidently they didn't. Because people were missing and being killed when they were trying to get shot up there. Guys not doing DPS on the proper targets. It was bloody mess is what it was. Anyway, regardless, after a little bit of brute force and ignorance and a lot of shouting from myself and the raid leader and my class leader on Ven, who's one of the more assertive people, and yes, he's very good at what he does, we get him down to like 15%, right? And to me, this, personally, as someone who has raided the tough stuff when it mattered, this is kind of embarrassing. Because Flame Leviathan, I know, is not hard. On 4 towers, it's pretty freaking tricky, don't get me wrong, but 2 towers should not be an issue for a guild of what used to be that caliber. And yet it was anyway. Now, we're getting down to 15%, and there's argument within the guild as to whether or not we should just kill it on normal mode and then go on. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that want to take one of the towers down to make it easier, and when I explained to them, I was like, oh, well, you know what, we're not going to get any hard mode loot if we do that. We'll get an extra emblem, and that'll be it. Yeah? Which is kind of a waste, and we've got him, yeah? We'll have him the next couple of attempts if you guys bloody listen. We'd have had it the first time if you'd bloody listened. And there's people that said, oh, well, just take all the towers down. We don't care, we want progress. And there's other guys like, I want the achievement, blah, blah, blah. And there's all of these different people in the guild that all want these different things. Now, this never used to be the case. Because the one unifying factor of most guilds, and this is where I'm seeing a bit of a problem with this hard mode system we have going on here and this non-linear progression. Back in the day, the one thing that unified guilds was the next target, yeah? And that was it. It was as simple as that. Everything linked together. It's like some people might be there for the loot. Yeah, well, getting the loot involves killing the bosses. Yeah? Some people are there for the progress. Well, progress is killing bosses. We all know that, right? And it was obvious as to which boss you had to kill next. Maybe there was a little bit of debate when there was quite a few instances open, particularly in TBC. It's like, oh, well, should we go farm SSC today, or should we go progress in BT? There was a bit of debate on that regard, but generally speaking, that could be gotten around with good scheduling, yeah? Because they weren't mutually exclusive. You could do SSC and it wouldn't affect doing BT or doing Sunwell or whatever. That would be okay. Now it's not the case. Now we've got to make a choice. We've got to make a choice and say, right, do we continue to bang our heads against this hard mode and beat it and get the good stuff, yeah, and hopefully say, hey, we've achieved something today? Do we make the hard mode easier and, well, we've achieved kind of half of something today? Or do we get rid of the hard mode entirely and just wipe through it easily, you know, just walk all over it and get on to the next encounter so that we can do progress, yeah? Now, the problem is they're both progress in their different ways. Beating a hard mode is just as much progress now as beating a boss you haven't killed before, because it's killing, obviously, a harder version of the boss, you're getting an achievement, you're getting extra loot. It's progress. MMO Champion considers it progress. There's plenty of sites that do. They're keeping track of this kind of thing on a Hall of Fame. World firsts for hard modes, that kind of thing. Which is interesting. I mean, we predicted this would happen, of course, but it's not something that's happened before. So it is kind of intriguing. The problem that I'm having with it is it's showing really where people's interests lie. We've already had the issue in small amounts when we were doing knacks and stuff like that, because people want to shoot for achievements and things like that, and it was kind of split down the middle. Half the guild wanted to do achievements, and half of them didn't. Now, I don't care about achievements in any respect, right? I mean, I'm okay with trying for something like the Immortal, because to be honest, you should be doing that anyway. Eh? You shouldn't be dying anyway. That's kind of the point. You're not supposed to die on bosses, at least if you're doing what you're supposed to do. So that's fine. But doing stuff like Spore Loser and all that kind of stuff, no. Doing the whole, oh, let's kill all the 4 horsemen within like 5 seconds of each other or whatever it is, no. Kill 18 of the abominations. Why? For what possible reason? Like, some of this stuff is just silly, and we've discussed this in past shows, so we don't need to go into this in detail. But the hard mode thing has really blown this kind of schism in my guild up into a bigger proportion that actually matters now. It's not so easy to dismiss people. Indeed, I'm on the side of the guys who think that we should be doing some hard modes, right? I don't think we're geared up enough to do XT's hard mode on 25 yet, although I think we can do it on 10. I think that we should be trying to get all 4 towers on Flamelev, and the reason for that is that, to be honest, your gear does not affect that encounter much. It does a bit, don't get me wrong, because of course the vehicle scale with your item level of gear, but there's a bunch of guilds that killed 4 towers on like the first week, and they're wearing the same gear that we are. That means that it is entirely doable. It's got nothing to do with being a gear check or anything like that, and a lot of these hard modes are. The DPS checks, healing checks, tank checks, whatever it is. It's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with execution, performance, doing everything right and efficiently in the best way possible. It's not about class balance. It's not about how you composite your raid together. It's not about anything like that. It's just about pure, simple cohesion and skill. Now that, in my opinion, is the best hard mode, and that's what we should be shooting for. Because there's nothing holding us back other than people sucking. And people shouldn't be sucking in a raiding guild of that caliber. Now I do wonder how many other guilds are having this issue. How many other guilds have got groups of people that want to do the hard modes, groups of people that don't want to touch the hard modes, groups of people that are interested in the achievements, groups of people that are not interested in the achievements? What actually happens when all of those groups of people clash together? And all of those conflicting interests come into play. Because this time, it's mutually exclusive. There are some achievements that you just have to do in a certain way. And there are some hard modes that you have to do in a certain way. And if you kill it on hard mode, you don't get to do it on easy. Kill it on easy, you don't get to do it on hard. It's not the same thing as back in TBC where you had to choose between instances. As some people have made that comparison. It's not the same thing. It's mutually exclusive. Now, to me, that's a bit of an issue. Don't get me wrong. Hard modes, as a principle, are good. I like the extra challenge. Especially bearing in mind they're nerfing the crap out of everything, and I wish they'd bloody stop it. We're talking about that later. I like them as a principle. I like them as a concept. However, the execution is causing an inordinate amount of conflict within guilds. I don't think my guild's unique in this. That just seems bizarre. I would not be surprised, and indeed you can email me at themurloc@gmail.com and tell me whether or not your guild has experienced anything similar. Conflict of interest between those who just want to progress and those who want to do hard modes. Let me know. themurloc@gmail.com. Now, I think what this all culminates in is a lack of direction, and this is something that was mentioned on the Pug episode with Insidia. there's a lack of direction in where Blizzard wants people to go. It's always been very defined, it's always been very clear, and it's very easy to have a unified front with your guild when things and your progress path are clear and straight in front of you, with no doubts. It's like, we are going to go kill this boss, and everyone's like, yeah, let's go kill this boss, and nothing else really crosses their mind. People are more focused that way. There's less conflict within guilds, there's less drama, always a good thing. Can't have progress when you're too busy killing each other. And yet now, not so much. No achievements, which I was always against achievements anyway. It's obvious what the progress path is, at least as regards to instances. You go next to Ulduar. But now, you got a situation where it's like, well, Ulduar 10 or 25. Ulduar 10 hards, Ulduar 10 normal. Ulduar 10 hard gear is better than Ulduar 25 normal. Or Ulduar 25 hards, should we do that? Which hard should we do? Some of them seem attainable, some of them don't. Which should we try? Which level should we try them on? Should we have Flame Lev with 1, 2, 3 or 4 towers? Should we have Freya with 1, 2 or 3 or no Guardians? All of these crazy choices that have to be made and these disagreements. Don't get me wrong, variety, choice, very good thing, I like that. Admittedly, I think that perhaps just putting the content out there and forcing the players to just make the decisions themselves is a little bit of a hands-off approach. I don't necessarily object to it, but it's a matter of precedent, yeah? It's a matter of the fact that for the last 4 years, we've been given a very clear path to go down, a very clear direction for our progress, and now that's all in flux. And I don't think some guilds are adapting to it well, mine included. Sure, I think that people will adapt to it eventually. They'll get the idea that now it's a whole bunch of different modes that you can try, but I think it's going to cause some confusion, and it's going to cause some conflict, and it's going to cause that conflict in older raiding guilds that are more accomplished, as opposed to, you know, casual scrub guild, or indeed the other end of the spectrum, Bleeding Edge Hardcore Guild, who are obviously shooting for hard modes, because they want to go do Algernon and they want to get the best gear. That makes sense, of course. But the majority of guilds are not like that. The majority of guilds are not terrible either. So it's an interesting situation. Email your thoughts on this topic to themurloc@gmail.com. I'd like to hear your stories as regards to this. And you're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I'll be right back after this, folks. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuned in to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Now, before we go on to the next topic, there's an interesting, I'd say interesting, yeah, it's relatively interesting, we'll go with that. You might have seen a banner on our front page. Yeah? There is a banner on our front page which is taken from a site called zombiehead79.com. Now, zombiehead79.com is a podcast that reviews podcasts. Now, obviously, I've decided that the best course of action would be to create a podcast that reviews podcasts which review podcasts. And it'd be the most meta thing ever. It would be awesome. It'd be like me 20 minutes like, this podcast that reviewed podcasts about podcasts this week was awesome, yes. Now, I'm going to review this podcast about podcasts. Now, I don't think that this podcast about podcasts is really up to snuff. Yeah, it would actually be really terrible, wouldn't it? I should never have ideas again. Now, this one guy, he's got a good radio voice. I kind of like him. He's pretty entertaining. Admittedly, he had some weird audio issues, but whatever. Most of them do. And he came up with this cracking quote. He was reviewing Max Speed, right, which is another show which airs on our station, as you might expect. And he was saying, this show is hilarious. The French guy kills me. Right, you've got a show which has an American, a Canadian that sounds like an American, and a Mexican. Yeah? And what? The French guy I'm stunned, what can I say? But yeah, you should check it out, it's pretty good. Admittedly, he seems to like everything, which is a little bit of a problem. He's got his latest reviews up here, I'm just looking at them, and he's got a rating system out of 10, and nothing he's put up there is lower than 8.5. Now, I know for a fact that some of the podcast art lists are really bad, so I think he's liking too much. He gave my show a 9.8. I'm sorry, my show doesn't deserve a 9.8. Nothing deserves a 9.8. That's nigh on perfect in every way. My show's not nigh on perfect in every way, it's just really cool and awesome and heretics and monsters and Sindri and all that this good stuff. Anyway, quite enough of that. You should have a look at it, zombiehead79.com, and it's time to talk about something meaningful. Now, we went into Ulduar, as I described, and we went up against the boss that I have many, many fond memories for. Yeah? But many fond memories. It goes by the name of XT002 Deconstructor. Yes, XT002 Deconstructor. And you should be aware of this boss. This is the most nerfed boss in the entire of Ulduar. Right? Now, I assume the reason for that is because it's kind of a gatekeeper boss. Well, there are two gatekeeper bosses into the main Ulduar area. One of them was Flame Leviathan, who, well, let's face it, they can't really nerf anymore, and XT. Yeah? And XT is the gatekeeper boss. You can't get into the main area of Ulduar without killing XT. So, I suppose that was their justification in nerfing him to the ground, baby. Now, we've talked about the nerfs, but what disturbs me is my personal experience of this boss now. When we killed him on Wednesday, it was a joke. Yeah? You know what it felt like? I know exactly what it felt like. I know what I was thinking at the time. I was thinking, this is like a Nax boss. They have turned it into a face roll. It's like none of this stuff can kill you anymore. Right? The amount of nerfs they made to this boss is ridiculous. The only nerf that I agree with is the shooting out light and... what is it? Yeah, light and gravity bombs while doing the Typanic Tantrum, or whatever it's called. Because that was a BS mechanic. I didn't like that at all. That was just silly. So they got rid of that, and I was alright with that. But they also nerfed the light bomb. They nerfed the gravity bomb. They nerfed Typanic Tantrum, which is his main ability, I might add. Typanic Tantrum was basically, it does 10% of your health damage every second for 12 seconds. It's now the same as that, but with 8 seconds, meaning, obviously, I would think that some of you guys would know by now, it can't kill you. It cannot on its own kill you. Now, before that, of course, it was a threat. And it was a mechanic that was taken from one of the Emerald Dragons on the old level 60 raid bosses. World bosses, it is. And it was a good mechanic, because I remember actually wiping on that boss back when it mattered. The problem with it now is that the mechanic doesn't mean anything. Because you can't shoot out the bombs while doing the Typanic Tantrum, the chances of anyone actually dying during the tantrum are astronomically low. Really. Massively, astronomically in every respect, low. It's like dying on Heigen. Who the hell dies on Heigen? Not anymore, anyway. People used to die on Heigen, when Heigen actually, killed you with his main mechanic. That would be nice, wouldn't it? But no, not anymore. We don't want that. That'll offend the casuals. It just upset me. Because I liked that boss. We had a good kill on that boss. It took a couple of days, but we had a good kill on the unnerfed version of that boss when it had a strict enrage timer, when it was shooting bombs, when its Typanic Tantrum could actually kill you, when light bombs did more damage. Yeah, then we had a good kill. We killed it, and it was a great kill. It felt like the old days. It did. It wasn't some hard mode BS like Sartharian 3 Drakes. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't Malagos. It wasn't anything in Nax. It was old school. It was an old school kill with half your raid dead for whatever reason because the mechanics are difficult, with the enrage timer about to hit, and you're just so unsure whether or not you get the kill, and when you do, it feels awesome. Yes. It feels stellar. It's a great feeling. I love it. Now, no one's going to get that. At all. Now, here's a story of another boss that has also been nerfed. And this will, of course, come to the main point of this particular segment. How annoyed I am at this, and why, indeed, my entire guild is annoyed at this, and the effect that it has on the guild morale. This is something we haven't really discussed an awful lot of, and we should, because guild morale is a very real thing. Most people don't really do much with it. Most people don't even understand it. It's never really mentioned anywhere. It's not discussed in Theorycraft, because of course it's a non-quantifiable factor. It's not discussed by Blizzard themselves, because they don't really seem to recognise that it exists. But it does. Raid morale exists. Now, the other fight that we failed so hard on, I'm so embarrassed to say it, but we just absolutely screwed up. Razor Scale, not a difficult fight. Yeah? It was relatively challenging on launch, and then of course they nerfed it into the ground, and it doesn't have a hard mode, so there was nothing to buff there. They basically just turned what was a challenging boss into a crappy boss. A face roll boss. And yet somehow, I don't know if maybe half our raid was asleep. Possibly. Maybe they'd all been given sedatives. Or maybe they didn't have any eyes anymore. They were plucked out by an angry monkey. Came into the house and said, "I would like your eyes." And they said, "No, I'm not going to give you my eyes." And they said, "It doesn't matter, because I'm going to take them anyway." And then plucked them out. And there was screaming and blood and horror and all manner of terrible things. Families screaming, children running all over the place. Really unpleasant. And the monkey's just sitting there on top of the monitor, sort of licking this eyeball. Like, delicious. Now, if that actually happened, that would be a decent excuse. But it didn't. Did it? No. Oh no, and the one guy that said it did, you're a liar. Never happened. So what's your excuse? I have no idea what your excuse is, but it was stupid. But for all of the failing, we still killed it. Now, there are two ways to look at this. One way is like, oh, you must be an awesome guild if you managed to do that with a disadvantage. No, here's the real point. The boss sucks now. That's why we were able to do it. Nobody should have that many dead people within 2 minutes of starting Razor Scale. What the hell are you on? Nothing happens. Oh, fire come from the sky. Raiding is hard. Sometimes there is fire. Move out of it. Oh, chain lightning. Raiding is hard. Sometimes there is chain lightning. Move away from it. Raiding is hard. Sometimes there are ads. You kill them. Or in this case, you AoE them. Because that's how Nax taught you to do trash. And somehow we still failed! Why? Anyway. Killing that boss was the most embarrassing thing I have ever seen. And a number of the veterans and proper raiders who had been in other guilds and really experienced the hard content when it mattered were like, guys, that sucked. Well, they said things far more profane than that, but we'll stick with sucked for the time being. That was appalling. That was just terrible. What are you doing? We don't even deserve the loot that comes off this boss. And funny enough, evidently, Blizzard obviously didn't think I deserved it either, because Master Loot bugged and I didn't get my trinket. We reported to GMs, that was 2 days ago. I still don't have my damn trinket. I'm so angry I could ring this bell. Perhaps that was the monkey that left that here. Never thought of that way before. Now, I find it a little bit disdainful. I find it disgraceful, and all those other good words that begin with D, that we should be able to kill that boss that way. This is the next step up in raiding, supposedly. And now what we've got are two bosses that are basically Nax bosses. One of them is optional, one is not. One has a hard mode, which I might add has been... It's like they just tweaked random numbers into the hard mode. It's like, hey guys, what should we do with the hard mode this week? Well, let's look at the hard mode. It did 30% extra damage or so, give or take, and 40% extra health. Okay, let's make it 150% extra health. Herf derf. You just type that in at random. Next week it's going to be 167.42 health. Because we're just mucking about now. Oh yeah, and gravity bombs now do 50k damage. Ha ha, hard modes. It'll be awesome. Not awesome. Not awesome at all. We shouldn't have got that. We should be punished. And you want to know why we should be punished? Because actually, beating easy bosses lowers guild morale. It doesn't improve it. You might think that killing bosses improves guild morale, but it only improves guild morale if those bosses mattered to begin with. If they didn't matter, if they were just face rolls, then why do you think that would improve anyone's morale, other than scrubs? who just want loot and want the easiest way to get it. Proper raiding guilds don't get morale off that. They get morale off killing a hard boss. The Celebration on Ventnor XT went down pre-nerf. Celebration on Ventnor when Razor Scale went down pre-nerf, for God's sake. He used to have a 6-minute enrage. That was actually relatively challenging. We had to go all out. It was good. It felt right. It doesn't just affect guild morale, though. It affects guild focus. Guilds are never going to learn if Blizzard consistently nerfs that content. What are they going to learn from Razor Scale now? What are they going to learn from XT? I mean, make a comparison of what's happened. Make the comparison of XT pre-nerf, yeah? XT pre-nerf. How could you die? Well, there were various reasons. It had like a 6-minute enrage, which was a hard enrage. You had to be all out on the DPS. And that was tricky because you also had to deal with the ads, so you had to balance it. It was a careful balancing act. It required quite a bit of cohesion and coordination. Light bombs could easily kill you. Did loads of damage. Could easily kill people around you. Gravity bombs couldn't really kill you, but they were kind of annoying anyway. Tympanic Tantrum, and this is the big thing. Tympanic Tantrum is what always killed us, yeah? Particularly in combination with light and gravity bombs. That was the big tricky one. That was a big strain on the healers. Now, you've nerfed all of those areas. So you've basically nerfed every possible way to die on that boss, yeah? You can't really die to ads, because the pummelers do bugger all and they're very easy to tank. Scrapbots don't do anything, other than obviously heal the boss when they get to him. And the bombs, well, nobody kills the bombs on the way there anyway, unless you're in 10-man mode, where the bombs have, like, no health. They explode and they have a tiny AoE, and it's not difficult to avoid. You just have to stand on the other side of the boss. Like, oh, there's a bomb coming in, guys, let's not stand next to it. Even if you do get hit by it, it doesn't kill you most of the time. So there's the difference between a face roll and a good boss. Eh? Now, are you seriously telling me you prefer the face roll? Blizzard? Honestly? I mean, you designed a good encounter to begin with, right? The problem is that if you don't have to focus, you basically go to sleep at the keyboard and you face roll. That's where the whole thing came from. That's where the phrase appeared. And guilds were hating that in Naxxramas. It wasn't just because there was no new content, it's just because the existing content they had was terrible. It was too easy. It's like I was half asleep all the way through Nax because I know what the hell was going to kill me. Really. What honestly was a threat in that instance to me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't have to be awake for any of it. And it's becoming the same way in Ulduar, and that disturbs me. More so than anything, because it's turning my guild into a guild that is not actually good enough. Because it's not focused. By the time it gets to a hard boss, it's already half asleep. Therein lies an issue. You listen to Blue Plz. Yes, that was WoW Radio spoken in Ewok or something along those lines. You listen to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I'll be right back after this. We'll be speculating on Blizzcon. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. Myself, TotalBiscuit. I'm coming out with a bit of cold or something like that. Nah, it'd be terrible. It's okay, though. I have what appears to be off-brand Vicks Vapor Rub. My plan, I shall stick my nose in it. Oh, God, my eyes, it burns, Ah! It's okay, don't need those for the show anyway. Oh, God. Seriously, recommendation of the week, Vapor Rub by Boots, if you wish to clean out drains, kill small mammals, but not for easy breathing. Deny yourself one of your 5 senses, thanks to Boots off-brand Vapor Rub. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Now, BlizzCon, the event which I most likely will not be at because I'm still on the US no-fly list. I don't know, there's something kind of cool about being on the US no-fly list. until you realise there's 48 other thousand people on that list. That kind of sucks. I'd much rather be on the UK no-fly list, which has 17 people. That's an exclusive club. I know what Michael Savage is whining about. It's like, you win. You know, it's like getting a golden ticket to the wonderful Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of deportation. It's unique, it's exclusive, it's A-list, man. You're on there with people that want to blow stuff up. Be proud. Anyway. BlizzCon. I won't be there, most likely. I'm actually going to go to Bloodstock, which we will all be going down as a WoW Radio group, those who cannot go to BlizzCon. We're going to rock out in Derby for 3 days with an awesome bunch of bands. I'll be announcing that a little bit later in the year. Well, coming towards the time. We have a WoW Radio flag and a WoW Radio village and a WoW Radio barbecue, which I will build from bricks. Oh, yeah. 3 days of meat, mead, and metal. Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. I'm booking the days off work on Monday. Now, BlizzCon. Some of you will be going, I would imagine. Indeed, they have announced what the queuing system is going to be. They've also announced that they've jacked the price. Personally, I have no issues with that. $125 is not a big deal for a 2-day convention. Especially not when you've rented out the entire convention centre. Funnily enough, the pet and stuff that you always get in there always sells for more than the price of the ticket anyway. So most of the time, if you don't want the pet, or whatever it is, stupid stuff you get in the bag, you can get that in there for free. After you sell it on eBay. Or do what smart guys did. There was a guy on Something Awful who must have sold his bag for like $500 because he just saved it until everyone else had sold theirs. It's like, oh look, suddenly, rarity. Smart move. Now, the question is, what exactly is going to be happening there? Now, I would imagine that with the size of the convention centre, there's going to be an awful lot more focus on StarCraft 2 and Diablo 3, and that is, of course, entirely understandable. There's also the possibility that we'll be hearing something about their as-yet unannounced next-generation MMO, and that, in my opinion, is going to have nothing to do with Warcraft at all. So, it's not really relevant to our discussion. Now, what I want to concentrate on, of course, is what we can expect from BlizzCon as regards to World of Warcraft. Now, to have a guess, and bear in mind there's been nothing announced yet in that regard, the best way to do it is look at the past BlizzCons and see what's been announced there. Now, BlizzCon 2008 was basically a no-show for WoW. They didn't really announce anything. Not for WoW. Nothing. Yeah? Because, of course, Wrath of the Lich King was already well on the way. That, indeed, I believe, if I remember correctly, got announced at BlizzCon 2007. So, that wasn't exactly a big deal. What else did they have? Well, they had StarCraft 2. Nah. Diablo 3. Meh. Okay, whatever. There wasn't an awful lot of stuff that was really announced there. Indeed, there wasn't an awful lot of stuff that was playable either. Now, I remember going to BlizzCon in 2005, and it was awesome for various reasons. We broadcast from there. And we, of course, got the announcement of the Burning Crusade, which was the first expansion pack. Now, that is a big deal. Especially bearing in mind they had a whole bunch of footage and stuff to show us. We also got to play AQ20, which was nowhere near release at the time. Yeah? So that was pretty unique. We also got to try out a bunch of items that people hadn't even got yet because they hadn't killed Nefarian. So it was pretty cool. I was running around as a priest in AQ20 with Lochamir. Oh, is it Lochamir or whatever? I don't know what it's called. That stupid mace with 81 spell power on it. Or 81 healing at the time, of course. I had all of this great gear. Full tier 2 and all that stuff. I was feeling awesome. Now, BlizzCon 2007, of course, had Wrath of the Lich King. There was no BlizzCon 2006. Wrath of the Lich King, obviously a big announcement. But nothing there. Now, as far as we're aware, of course, there isn't another expansion in the works yet. At least not in the state that they would want to announce it in. Yeah, obviously there's going to be another expansion. We know that. Is it going to be announced, let's see, how many months? We're looking at maybe 9 months after the release of the current expansion. Okay, well, let's look at what actually happened with the Burning Crusade. When did the Burning Crusade come out? That was, as I recall, January to February 2007? Yep, that would be correct. When was BlizzCon? In 2007. That was October 2007. Which was approximately 9 months after the release of the Burning Crusade. Interesting. Now, since BlizzCon is scheduled approximately 9 months after the release of Wrath, give or take, there is a very strong possibility that we may see something as regards to an expansion pack. It is very possible. Makes sense, right? Obviously, the development time seems to be there. I mean, they announced and showed us bits of Wrath of the Lich King 9 or so months after the release of TBC. So, whatever expansion they've got in the works is obviously well underway. They're not just going to start it right now. Oh no. They're probably working on it since before the release of Wrath, I would imagine. So yeah, chances of seeing something new on expansion front, pretty high. Now, we mentioned, of course, earlier that we saw AQ20 at Blizzcon. So, let's look at the timeline right now. We've been in patch 3.1 for, what, about a month, give or take? Yeah, that sounds about right, about a month. And the BlizzCon is going to be in August this time around, and it is currently May. So, May, June, July, August, so about 3 months down the line. Now, patch 3.2 does not, I do repeat, not, as far as we are aware, feature a raid instance. It features a new battleground, and it features expansion of the Argent Tournament, and it may feature a new 5-man encounter. But no raid content. Therefore, I would suggest that 3.2, and this is my prediction. Now, bear in mind that I was pretty damn right with Ulduar. My prediction was solid within like about a window of a week. So, we'll see if we can keep that going. My prediction is that 3.2 will be out in, from now, about 2.5 months. Which is before BlizzCon. Meaning that if we're going to see anything, we're going to see content from 3.3. Which might mean possible raid content. We may get to see a preview of whatever the new raid instance may be. Now, I would imagine that it's not going to be Ice Crown, not yet. I would think that what they're probably going to do is they're going to keep Ice Crown until last. It makes sense. Having said that, there is precedent to believe that that may not happen. We saw in the TBC, the lead antagonist, Illidan Stormrage. His instance came out about 6 months into TBC, and then another instance came out after that, Sunwell. And I didn't really... I mean, there was obviously some links with the lore. I don't know much about the lore, I never really have. But it seemed to me that Sunwell was kind of tacked on at the end. It didn't seem like a logical ending to the expansion. Not when Illidan was supposed to be the big thing. And for God's sake, it wasn't even in Outlands. So, it seems a bit weird. So it may be that we get Ice Crown next, and then we get something random. But I would hope not, because I think Blizzard has learned a lot from TBC, and it's shown in the questing of Wrath of the Lich King that they want to tie together a more cohesive story with a more active antagonist, as opposed to some guy who's just sitting in a temple going, ha ha ha, I am Illidan. So possibly Ice Crown, possibly something else. If it is something else, what could it be? Well, it could be a number of things. It could just be something brand new. In Northrend, it's possible. Or it could be something that we haven't seen before. That's been an inactive area. Like, say, Grim Batol. That's a possibility. It could be Uldum. That's also a possibility. We've got a big Titans theme going on, so Uldum is a possibility. Lots of the olds going on. However, I don't think that they're going to release another Ul instance. Uldaman, Ulduar, Uldum. No, that's just going to confuse people. I'm sorry, you're overestimating the intelligence of the WoW player base. They couldn't handle that. Think about it. Think of the confusion. Oh, it would be horrendous. People can't even spell Ulduar as it is. So Ice Crown? Maybe. Grim Batol? Maybe. Something else entirely? Could be. But I would put money on there being some kind of preview of new raid content. That's my two specific predictions. Now what else? What else is going to be happening over at BlizzCon? Well, obviously we're going to be over there. We'll be broadcasting. With better equipment this time, I might add. All of our good equipment, of course, got deported last time. It was freaking wonderful. However, I have posted the vast majority of my equipment over there, and I'll be posting the rest closer to the time. And yes, it will be there. So we'll be having quality broadcasts. You'll be able to hear every panel. Absolutely every one of them. We will have the most coverage. And yes, you can buy DirecTV's coverage, or you can listen to everything with us. For free. All panels. Live shows throughout the day, interviews, everything you could possibly want. All free on WCURadio.com. Now, what else are we going to see? It'll be interesting to watch the panels, because the panels are always good to get an impression of what's been going on. Now, what I would like to see, and I think that they're probably going to have to do this because there's been a lot of sort of humdrum about this, is kind of give a direction for the game. Something they're going to have to state unequivocally. This is the way the game is going right now. And this is the reason it's going this way. Because they do Q&A. And it would not surprise me in any respect if somebody got up and said, well, you've just turned your game into a casual game. What the hell are you doing? What I think they'll also do is describe perhaps the future of hard modes, because it seems to me hard modes are here to stay, and Blizzard tends to evolve on their concepts. As to what they're going to do with it, I don't know. Personally, I would like to see a third level of difficulty. As in a settable third level of difficulty. So you got normal, you got heroic, and then, well, someone suggested in my form we call it Titan difficulty. Well, whatever. Something like that. Epic difficulty. It all works. I think they might go that way. But I certainly think they'll expand on the concept and they'll tell us an awful lot about it at Blizzcon, which will be interesting to watch. On the PvP front, well, the Battleground will already be out. So I don't think there's going to be too big a deal there. But it was interesting that actually in 2005 there were Battleground tournaments. Now, Arena has become the big deal now, but you know what? If they release a good Battleground, I would love to see Battleground tournaments come back. That'll be pretty exciting. Because Battleground tournaments were actually very good, and indeed I do believe more strategic than Arenas would ever be. Less Twitch, more strategy. Nothing wrong with that at all. We even had this like fly-by view where we could watch it on big screens. In 2005, that was really awesome. That excites me more than Arena ever will. So it's possible we might see a resurgence of that. And to be honest, I'm just glad that they're still doing it. Because it seemed to me that BlizzCon could have been a little bit of a flash in the pan, but a lot of good information does come out of it. And I can understand that some people would say, well, what's the point in going to this convention? Maybe there's not enough to do. And generally speaking, yes, they would be correct. I don't think there is enough for 2 days in there of constant stuff to do. But there's a lot of cool social activity goes on. It's a good chance to meet fellow players and meet guildies and all that kind of thing. And I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. Not at all. It's also a rare time where you actually get to interact with Blizzard on a personal level. Because Blizzard, being a large company, they're very controlling of their message. Now, it's more difficult to be controlling of your message when you're in front of an audience, especially an audience that is asking questions. Getting that opportunity, I believe, is vitally important. Because the guys that are going there to BlizzCon, they're the dedicated fan base, yeah? Those are the guys you want to be listening to because they generally have a better understanding of how the game works. They're not the blithering idiots that cry on the forums that they're going to quit. They're not the guys who just want their class buffed for the sake of having their class buffed. They're generally understanding guys that understand the quality of the game, and they understand why they like it, but they also understand how it could improve and benefit people more. Those are the guys you need to listen to, and that is a unique opportunity to do so. So yeah, BlizzCon, great. My speculation, right there. New expansion. I'd be willing to put a little bit of money on that. And also, see some new raid content. I think you'll get to preview that. One of those two, in my opinion, is going to happen. So we'll see how that goes in August. My name is TotalBiscuit, and you're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. I'll be right back after this with the illusion of choice. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. So yeah, I'm pretty quiet on Vent, you know. Kind of laid back.
Oh my god, you noobs! DPS the ends!
Just like to chill out, kick back, relax, raid with my friends. No worries, no stress.
How is that even possible? Are you 7 different shades of stupid? Move out of the fire!
It's important to make sure my orders come through loud and clear. I'm a bit, shy. I'm not particularly loud or anything. My last event server was really poor quality.
Tank it, for heaven's sakes! Tank it! How can you be so monumentally freaking terrible?
Well, I discovered UGT Ventrilo servers. Amazing quality, great prices, and they're so reliable. pretty much perfect in every way. I mean, I was a pretty calm guy before, now I've got even less reasons to worry.
Why? Why do I raid with you people?
Why not get one of your own? UGTservers.com. That's UGTservers.com. You'll be glad that you did. It's really helped me find my zen, you know? Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio, myself, TotalBiscuit. Now, before we get to the illusion of choice, there's a few things I would like to read out on the subject of hard mode and easy mode exclusivity. I want to hear from I can't pronounce that, from the Guild Passion on Train.eu, and it says this: Hey TB, my Guild Passion on Train.eu have cleared Old War 25, and even we have a little internal conflict of interest when it comes to hard modes. Unfortunately, the individuals who hold the view that hard modes and achievements are in a bit of a rut in that respect, they no longer have any content outside of farming Old War 25 over and over again, while the rest of us can enjoy hard modes and the challenge within. Truly, there is no home for old raiders. It's an interesting point. Now, I've got a couple more emails actually on attunements, which is very interesting indeed. That seems to have kind of poked the beehive, as it were. There's a lot of angry bees. We've got one here. Hello TV, this is Lilrix, the Orc Shaman of Senjin US. I'm listening live right now, and I must disagree with you. Attunements were one of the greatest mechanics Blizzard had. It made sure that people who thought they were awesome players got a nice dose of reality and a swift slap in the face to all Timmy power gamers of WoW. I feel that Blizzard should bring back attunements like Hajal and BT. These attunements were fantastic at keeping the bad players out. Heck, even the Oni attunement was good. It was only bad in the sense that you had to do it on every character. These are just my opinions on preventing the crappy player race from ruining the game. Sincerely, Lyrics, AT Orc Shaman. Right, okay. Here's the problem with that reasoning. In fact, you've got it the wrong way around, yeah? You said attunements were one of the best mechanics Blizzard ever had. It made sure that the people who thought they were awesome players got a nice dose of reality and a swift slap in the face. No, actually it didn't. It was arbitrary. What gives people a nice dose of reality is going into an instance they are clearly unprepared for and getting bitch slapped all over the place. That is a nice dose of reality. It's like, oh, we just walked into something we were blatantly unprepared for because we thought we were better than we really were. We just got smacked down hard. Oh yeah, let's get back. Let's just go back a tier and get on with it. Get on with what we're supposed to be doing. The thing is, stuff like the Oni attunement. The Oni attunement didn't prove anything. Eh? It wasn't even a sensible attunement. It's just like, it proves your patience. It's like, it doesn't prove whether or not you can kill an Ixia. It's got nothing to do with that. Heck, most of the attunement consists of 5-mans. It's like, what has 5-mans got to do with a 40-man raid boss? Nothing. It's the same deal with the attunements that you used to have to get into SSC and TK. You had to do heroics for them. Why? What's heroics got to do with raiding? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I can sort of understand the BT and Hyjal ones because the first boss of Hyjal was like a loot boss. Yeah? So having an attunement there ensured that you could just go in and farm the loot boss. The thing is, that didn't really seem to stop them in vanilla WoW. When they had Nax, which had an attunement which you basically just had to pay for. Yeah? It was a minor roadblock. You go in there and farm the 2 loot bosses, which were Instructor Vesuvius and a new Brakan at the time. You go farm them while he was still doing Black Temple, for God's sake. Did that affect people? No. Didn't mean they could do the rest of the instance. Now, achievements serve no practical purpose. Therein lies the problem. It's like, yes, I suppose that they give a very obvious linear progression from instance to instance, but there's fewer instances to worry about now. Now, that might have mattered in TBC where there was a ton of content initially. Yeah, there was 2 tiers of raiding from launch, then a further tier after that. That's a lot of raiding. You had 2 instances on the same tier, 2 full-size instances, as opposed to what you have now. You know, tier 7 raiding consists of a couple of mini-boss instances and Naxxramas. And now tier 8 consists of Emelon and Ulduar. Yeah? It's pretty simplistic. And tier 9 will probably consist of whatever comes there. It's like, you don't need that anymore. It serves no purpose. It's obvious what you have to go on to next. Why have an achievement in the way of it? You know what? If people can beat a boss, beating the boss on its own merits is all that matters. Whether or not you went into some arbitrary heroic to collect some arbitrary key or item or whatever should not matter in any respect whatsoever. What should matter is how good your guild is. How good is your guild? Can you beat the content? And if you want to stop casual players or whatever, you want to stop bad players, more importantly, from doing this content, it's very, very easy. You just make content that's difficult. That stops them dead in their tracks. And then what you do is you don't listen to them when they cry. When, say, a guild in, half Nax 10 gear decides, oh, I want to go into Old War 25. Oh, we just got slapped about. Let's get it nerfed. No. Those are the people you do not listen to. So no, achievements, attunements, they're both equally pointless. That's all I can say about it. Attunements were not awesome in that respect. They didn't keep bad players out at all. Indeed, I found most bad players in heroics. So I would say that plenty of them had the attunements they needed to get into at least tier 5 content. You'd be shocked at the number of people who were able to get into SSC and TK and haven't even cleared Karazhan because they were just in heroics and because that was all they could do. So yeah, not a valid argument in my honest opinion. And you know what? The Molten Core attunement can go sod off. That's got, going into a 5-man has nothing to do with a 40-man. The Onyxia attunement, that can go sod off. AQ40 didn't have an attunement. AQ20 didn't have an attunement either. Zul'Gurub didn't have an attunement. Naxxramas' attunement was like, yes, pay gold. Serves no purpose. So that's that particular subject out of the way. Right. It's time, I believe, for the illusion of choice. So let's have a quick look. This is not an illusion of choice, right? There's a question here. It's like, could the Emerald Dream be the next expansion? Yes. End of illusion of choice. End of the show. Goodbye. Do you think that works? Oh, yes, of course it could potentially be the next expansion. It's entirely possible that it could be. What should the next expansion be? I don't care. Because I don't care about the lore. It could be freaking Star Trek WoW. All of us are suddenly up on starships that were made by the Draenei and the Blood Elves. We are fighting aliens and bedding Andorian slave girls and whatever. I don't care if it's that, as long as it's got epics. Has it got raid encounters? Yes. Is the challenge there? Is there stuff for me to do? Yes, in that case, I don't care where it is. The entire thing could be based in the mushroom kind of map off of Warcraft 2 Dark Portal. I wouldn't care. As long as it had epics and challenge and raiding in it. So yeah, I'm not too bothered about that. Well, that was an easy illusion of choice. Let's find out. What do we got? Here's one. WoW is becoming more and more complicated in its vast amounts of personal things done for characters, from professions to runes. What other kind of things would you like to see on characters in that respect? That's relatively interesting. Now, I don't think that WoW is particularly complicated in that respect because everything's so cookie-cutter. Like crafting systems, you have no idea. There are tons of really cool crafting systems in other MMOs. WoW does not have one. So, click thing to make thing is not complicated. It's like, that's really, really simplistic. You want a good crafting system? Try the crafting system that's in Power Stone 2 for the Dreamcast, or the PSP, whichever you have. Which involves putting two random things together and seeing what happens. The vast majority of the time, nothing. Sometimes you get a cool item. That will be awesome. I combine this fish with this cake. It creates item level 239 mace. That will be awesome. I could dig that. And I wouldn't say that glyphs are particularly complicated either. I know a lot of classes don't really have a lot of choice as to what's viable. It's like, these are the obvious viable PvP. These are the obvious viable grinding. These are the obvious viable PvE. I know it's like that for mages. I don't know what it's like for the rest of the classes, but I don't view that as a lot of extra complexity. It's an additional layer, don't get me wrong, but that layer is wafer thin. Waffle thin, in fact. What other things would I like to see? Customization. And customization beyond new dancers and haircuts. Like customizing of armor, dyeing of armor. Why the hell can't I dye armor like every other MMO on the planet lets me do that? No customization there whatsoever. Tattoos. That would be nice. Things that you could add to your armor. Little trinkets, ornaments, trophies. Just something to distinguish myself from the other 500 million players that look like me. That's the, that would be one of the most important things. And you wonder, well, why is that important to me? Because usually I rail against this kind of stupid crap. Because I don't like feeling like everybody else. Nobody likes that. You're in an MMO to be this great hero, just like the other 500,000 players that are playing your class and have exactly the same gear as you. At least give me some way to change how it looks. Hey, Lord, every single one of the mages in my guild wears exactly the same gear. We all look identical. The only thing which differentiates me from the rest of the mages is that I picked a better race than they did. And I'll have one last. Yeah, this is a combo illusion of choice. It'll be awesome. One last one before we go to the shout-outs, and it's this. What part of Old War do you find to be the most fun, and given the chance, how much of it would you change, and which bits? That's from Schmears, from Devil's Rejects on Ice Crown US. Which ones do I find the most fun? The ones that I can't face roll over. The ones that are tricky. We killed Hodir for the first time last week. It was kinda cool. I'm waiting for them to nerf him into the ground. It'll suck. We're on Thorum at the moment. It's bizarre. I can't really get my head around that encounter, but I'm sure I will if we get past the first, minute of it. That's cool. That's challenging. That's something new. Though I want more of that. And I'm hoping the rest of the instance is going to be like that. I know Mimiron's a good challenge. I know Vezax is going to be a good challenge. I know Yogg-Saron's going to be a good challenge. I will enjoy those things, without a doubt. I just wish that the half of the instance that I'd just done had not been nerfed to the level where I can face roll over it, and by the time I get to the interesting content, I'm asleep on my keyboard. Simple as that. Shout out time, folks. Email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. If you so wish, for a shout out. Or PM me on the show. On IRC, irc.mmoirc.com, # or pound wow radio. Click the chat button on the screen on wcradio.com. Alternatively, tweet me on TotalBiscuit. No, it's not TotalBiscuit.com/Twitter. That would be silly. Twitter.com/TotalBiscuit. Any of those myriad of different ways to get in touch. Oh, yes. A shout out to June Mall EU Guild, Reign of Chaos. That's from Father Lucifer. Hey TB, can I have a shout out to Griggs on Boulderfist EU for being awesome. It's from Avatas. Yes, you can. Hey TB, can I have a shout out for my guild Edgeways on Bloodhoof EU who downed Thorum in style last week, as opposed to what? You guys rock. Thanks, FaZe. A shout out to Hornshade, who just says Hornshade. And also, can I have a shout out to Synergy on Quel'Thalas EU for managing to take down Mimiron 25. Also, can I have a shout at for Timius for deliberately blowing me up with a bomb outside Mimiron's room, and one to Blizz for nerfing Ulduar and to their service for messing with several of our raid nights. A shout out to Blubzor for having an awesome name, and to me for skipping an Ulduar raid because I'm a slacker. I skipped an Ulduar raid to watch Star Trek. That's cool. A shout out to Emperor Pen in Shining Force 3 for being an awesome killing machine. That's from Ayo Mo. A shout out to myself because I'm sick and I can barely keep my head up. That's from Dayster. Have Jaffamageddon. It will fix it. A shout out to Matthias, listening to your awesome show, amazing show, on for the very first time. Well, welcome. Hey TV, can I get a shout out to me? I got accepted into What the hell is that? Ringling School. Ringling School of Art and Design. Woo. Also to Enev Anzanzo. That's from Gitty. Yes, you can. A shout out to Plants vs. Zombies on 4-4 at the moment and going to be doing the rest after the show. Gatling P for the win. That's from Seath. Yes, absolutely. Plants vs. Zombies. Awesome. And a quick reminder, of course, we'll be interviewing the lead producer of that particular game as well as the WoW Pego mod on next week's Blue Plz. It will be great. Choking here. Can I get a shout out to Final Fantasy XI for filling the time while I wait for WoW to get interesting again? Well, unless you've killed absolutely everything in Old War, I'd say that it's still relatively interesting. Any more shout-outs here? Yes, there are. Can I get a shout-out to my guild, Devil's Rejects? No, you've already asked that. I hate you. A shout-out to Relentless on Sisters of Elune from Eranus. Also to Noz, the cutest no mage you ever did see. Edible is what those things are. They makes good eating. We got any shouts on the Twitter? No, because everyone hates my Twitter, even though I now have like 701 followers or something ridiculous like that. Ladies and gentlemen, one last shout out to Pride and Company and the premiere of their new show, But Wait, There's Law, tomorrow, yes indeed, airing on the 9th of May, and it will be airing at 1700 GMT, which is 12 EST on wcradio.com. If you like the lore, if you have any curiosity for the lore whatsoever in the background story of this game, you will want to tune into that show, because you will learn an awful lot and it'll be entertaining as hell. So yes, a shout out to Pride and Crew, they'll be on tomorrow. for their pilot. And they'll be looking for your feedback, so please do tune in. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been TotalBiscuit. This has been Blue Plz on WoW Radio. Check out the rest of our shows on wcradio.com. You will be very glad that you did. You can also grab them on iTunes. Yes, you can. You can also rate and review us on iTunes, which is also great, and follow us on Twitter, which is twitter.com/wowradio, to get live updates of when shows go on air, reminders, and you will also get told when archives go up, as well as all manner of other useful things. If you like what we're doing here, we have a donate button on the top of our screen on our website. Any donation is much appreciated. Got a lot of bandwidth going through this site. Costs quite a bit to run. And thank you, as always, to our crew of volunteers that keeps the site running and provides you with excellent shows on a day-to-day basis. My name has been TotalBiscuit. You've been listening to Blue Plz. You have been a wonderful audience. Good night. You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, a show that airs exclusively on wcradio.com on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That's 3 p.m. EST. You can check out our archives on our website at wcradio.com and subscribe to our RSS feeds. Don't forget to rate and review us using iTunes, and if you wish to leave constructive criticism, that is always appreciated. Head over to wcradio.com/forum and post in the threads there. Thank you for listening.